how to make the most of your seminars, how to remember them, how to remember them for the longest period of time, and make use of it. Guys, my name is Bill Jones. I'm the head instructor of Top Level Martial Arts in beautiful downtown Cuyahoga Falls. I'm a black belt under Master Pedro Sauer and Tony Rinaldi. You're watching Professor's Corner. Thanks for watching. I am in the car, so I'm not going to be making eye contact. I know that doesn't make for the most engaging video, so I apologize. Maybe just turn it on in the background, listen to it like a podcast or something. My goal here is to give you some tips about how to make the most of seminars, because I know that seminars are weird, right? They're a huge part of Jiu-Jitsu, which is very unique as far as like a sport niche goes. Even in the martial arts world, that's unique because it's not something that you see a ton of other martial arts doing, but you see it in Jiu-Jitsu all the time. It was born because, in the early, the late 90s, the early 2000s, there just weren't any black belts in the area, right? Like pretty much anywhere in the United States. There were maybe half a dozen or so in the United States. So some would fly in, they'd do a seminar, a bunch of people would drive out to learn from them, and then, those guys would leave. No one really had curriculums or anything back then, so they would just work whatever they learned in the seminar for the next 6 months and until the next seminar came around, and then they would go to that one. So that's kind of how they were born into Jiu-Jitsu, and they've become a huge part of the culture. You see them, almost every Jiu-Jitsu school holds seminars. So whether that's required anymore or not is a completely different subject. But I do think there's a lot of value in it because Jiu-Jitsu is a very broad topic, and there's lots of ways to do Jiu-Jitsu. And in my opinion, the more of it you get exposed to, the better you have the potential of being. So you really should go to them, but it doesn't do a whole lot of good if you go kind of pay attention, just go through the motions, get your picture at the end and say, yeah, I trained with so-and-so, and that was it. It's just like an expensive picture. So you don't want to be that person. You don't want it to be that experience. So how do you get the most out of it? The first thing that I say to do is have an idea of how you learn. And what I mean by that is understand if you seem to pick things up quickly by drilling them over and over for reps, or maybe you're the kind of person who has a movement memory where once you've done it once or twice, you really do get it, at least to remember it. Maybe you're the kind of person that just needs to feel it a few times. There's different ways that your body learns, and of course each of those can play a part. But my point is this, if you don't learn by doing reps, like just sitting there and repping it out, 15, 20, 30 reps, if that doesn't do anything for you, there's no point in doing that in the seminar. There's better things you can do with that time. Which takes us to point number 2, take notes. Almost every instructor should let you take notes. If they don't, I would ask for my money back, personally. I have been at a seminar one time, and it was with a very famous person, and he just got mad every time people stopped to take notes. And it's he's a terrible teacher is what it tells me. He doesn't understand how people learn. He doesn't understand that people learn in different ways. And I remember thinking, man, I feel terrible for these guys that are not used to taking notes, and that's the way they learn, and they've probably got a system for it. And he probably doesn't realize that they will learn it better if they take their notes. I just think you need to be willing to take notes, and if that's a kind of thing that works for you, you should do it. And you shouldn't let anybody tell you not to. It's not like you're recording anything. Which brings us to number 3. Record anything you're allowed to record. You should definitely have your camera out if you're allowed. Now, some instructors won't let you record their instruction. Maybe they have BJJ Fanatics videos that they want people to buy. Maybe they don't want it to get spread across the internet. I don't know. Maybe they tend to be a little loose with the way they talk, and it's not the most professional all the time, and they don't want to be spread around, dropping an F-bomb here or there, because they know some people don't like that. But like, for whatever reason, if you're allowed to record, you should record the instructor doing it. The next best thing is to record yourself doing it after the instructor does it. So like, if they're like, hey man, no videos of me doing it, say that's awesome, no problem. Then when you go to do it, just film yourself drilling a rep or two so that you get the idea of that. You can go back to it and try to get as many details as you can. Number 4, have the instructor do the moves to you. That's always important. The benefit of having a different person come in or having an instructor come in is so that you can feel their moves. So another example of being careful what seminars you go to, because if you go to seminars where you know that it's going to be packed and you're not really going to get time with the instructor, it's not really worth your time to do that, in my opinion, because then you're just getting the same thing you would get from their BJJ Fanatics video, right? You're just getting them regurgitating info. So make sure you take the time to have the instructor touch you and do the moves to you so that you understand what it feels like and what it should feel like. And even like do it on the instructor, because they probably know what it's going to feel like more than anybody else. So it's important to do that. Make sure that they're doing the moves to you. All right, so those are things that you can do during the seminar, right? But it's like, how do I remember this stuff after? What do I pick up on? Well, number 1, during a seminar, there's going to be lots of things that you get taught, and some of them aren't even, quote, the move being taught, right? It's like a little detail. They might run off something real quick, and you're like, oh, that was really profound for me. I want to remember that. I remember years ago, Pedro Sauer going over the 3 levels of defense, and he just casually mentioned, oh, you've got to resist, and then you've got to escape, and then you can control, and then you can counter. It was like resist, escape, counter, and just understanding that is the 3 levels of defense in Jiu-Jitsu was profound for me at the time. I think I was like a purple belt or something, and it's like, wait a minute, whoa, I never thought of it that way. Like, you have to give a little resistance before you can escape, and then you can set your escape. But instead of just escaping to a guard, why not counter? Why not counter the move, which is the highest form of jiu-jitsu? And isn't that like when it looks the coolest, is when you think one guy's going to win and then the other guy just somehow seems to pull an armbar out of his butt? Like, that's a counter that happened, and it's really cool to see. So that's it's these little nuggets, and make sure you're writing those down. Okay, write them down and then repeat them as quickly as you can to someone else. Like, as soon as you get home from your seminar or whatever, you should be texting your buddy saying, hey man, did you hear those 3 levels of control? That really hit me. Or did you see that harpoon escape? That really hit me. Whatever it is that stuck with you. I always call it the $100 move, or if I'm at a camp, it's like the $500 move, right? Like, 'cause if you're at camps, usually they're a little more expensive, but like, it's like, what is it that is going to take you to the next level? Sorry, there's a deer running in the road here. I'm trying, again, I'm not like, whoa, yeah, he tried to hit me. This is why I don't look at the phone when I'm filming. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. So yeah, there's going to be 1 or 2 things that I call like the move of the camp, and that's what you need to focus on first. That's the one that you really came to get, because it probably plays into your game really well. It probably is really powerful for you in some way, and that's why it's sticking so well. Practice that. That takes me to the other things. So here's a trick with memory, and something that you need to understand. And I learned this from I'm lucky enough to have I always say it wrong, but anyway, he's a professor at a university, and his specialty, and what he's done a ton of research into, is in researching how people learn and how their memory works. So it's a really cool tool to have him around, because I can bounce ideas off of him as an instructor. Like, hey, how can I teach this in a way that helps it work? Well, there's several things, but one of the big things is recall over time. So like, let's say I learn it at 10 a.m. on Saturday, right? I learn this awesome move, or several moves, or whatever. Before I leave the seminar, I should be going over those moves. I should review them again. Just force myself to remember them again. Then let some time go by. Maybe that evening, do it again. Go through everything that I learned. Look at all my notes. Just say, okay, these are all the things I learned. And then the second thing that helps you build memory is how well the things connect to other stuff you already know. So let's say you already know a harpoon escape, and you learned it, like, for example, at a camp we just did, David Porter taught Harpoon 2.0. So it connects to that. Like, how can I make that connection to help me remember it earlier, right? I call it forced recall over time. That's not an actual name. That's just something I made up to have a buzz so that it's easier to remember. But you want to remember it again before you go to bed, and then the next day, and then let maybe a couple days go by and remember it again. Now, this whole time you're trying to drill it, you're trying to train it, but like, review the notes and see the things that you keep forgetting, and review them again. It's studying, right? This is studying. That's how you remember these things. And the more you do that, and the more you're able to do that after you learned it, the longer you'll retain it. It's that simple. There's kind of a dose effect relationship there. The more you give yourself, and the more you force yourself to recall it after periods of time, the longer you will remember it. So that's a really powerful tool to make sure that you're remembering things. The second one, and I alluded to it already, is connect the stuff that you learn to other stuff you know. Now, that can be done in a bunch of different ways. It can be done via analogy. So maybe you don't know the moves, but it reminds you of something. Connect that analogy, and then be like, oh, what was that? Oh, yeah, it reminded me, the way he put his hand reminded me of holding a coffee cup. That's right. Or you might say, oh, the way he put his hand reminded me of how I do it in a cross choke. Okay, I remember it now. Like, anything you can do to make more connections and remember will help you remember it. And that's a really powerful tool as well. So just connect everything you're learning to something you already know. Now, obviously, if you're a white belt, you might know fewer moves and fewer techniques, so you might be making more analogies and stuff. But as you get better and better, it's like, that's why you see sometimes that, like, you'll watch a black belt, see a move for the first time and then pull it off, like, 10 minutes later in class, and in a roll, and you're like, he just learned that. How the hell did he pull it off already? You're still trying to remember the details. It's because it probably connected to something else they know. They immediately made that connection in their brain, whether they even said, I'm going to remember this better if I connect it to everything. They didn't necessarily know that. That's just what happened. And so they were able to immediately start making it work and understand the movement, right? Plus, maybe you're just watching someone who's really skilled. I don't know. So that's another thing. So force yourself to remember it, review your notes, and then connect all these things to other stuff you know. You can even draw those connections. There's different ways to do it, right? You could draw a flow chart of how the harpoon connects to everything else you do, or how Caleb's Superman pass by connects to other stuff you already do. You can do these things pretty easily if you just take the time to do it. And that's the other thing. Build that time into your day to actually do the memory work. It doesn't take a lot. A lot of times you can do it while you're laying in bed getting ready to go to sleep. But if you want to remember it even better and you want to write stuff down, don't allow things to get in your way, right? You've got to schedule out 15 minutes of time that's just for you, where you're going to sit down with a notebook and rewrite all your notes so that they're even more legible. That's another great trick you can do, is you made the notes, now rewrite the notes in ways that you can file them later. Because I see people make a bunch of notes at seminars, and it's like, well, what do you do with those? And one guy I met, he said, I take the notes here, and then later I go home and I rewrite the notes in various categories that he has, side control escapes or passing the guard or whatever. I don't know his system. All I know is he said he has 5 shelves of books filled with notes that are all like filed in a way that he can go right to them. And that's a really cool way to force yourself to memorize things. So those are some tips I have for you guys. I hope that's enough. I mean, that's a lot of stuff, and the end goal is you have to put in work, right? And I think the one that goes without saying, I guess I didn't say it, but I'll say it. You have to drill it. You have to actually try these moves. I talked about everything except for that, but you have to actually continue to try the moves and figure out how they work for you, because sometimes there's details and stuff in a move that works because someone had super long arms, or they had, so they were able to make a grip here, but you have to grab a gi sleeve or something like that. Like, there might be minor changes, or there might be things you run into that, you can only cover so much in a seminar. You got step A, B, and C. Well, maybe the opponent gave you, step D that you have to figure out on your own. You have to drill the moves. You have to go. And when I say drill, I should do a whole video about drilling. That doesn't mean just like mindless repetition that all you're doing is going step 1, step 2, step 3. Like, drill it in little pieces. It's something I'm going to do today. I'm working on my lasso guard, so I'm going to just drill getting to lasso guard. Like, I'm going to be like, all right, man, I'm going to try to get to lasso guard. Don't let me get to lasso guard. And that's my drill. Like they're still giving me 100% resistance, but it's against that. If I get to lasso guard, I win. We stop, we reset. And then we're going to do things like, okay, I'm going to have the hook in. Like, now I'm going to start with the lasso guard. I have to find a way to get a hook. Don't let me have a hook. Like things like that, so that I can piecemeal the little details together. Anyway, I hope this has all been helpful, guys. We're running on like 17 minutes of talk time now, so I hope this is helpful to you. Let me know in the comments below. I will talk to you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.